What's up guys, MikeCoco back here bringing you guys a new video on the new update for Legion of Heroes. Now before I start off this video, I do want to say today is July 1st, so to all my fellow Canadians out there, happy Canada Day. Now with that aside, let's go right into the new changes for Legion of Heroes. So the update brought along a few changes to the entire equipment system, and what they introduced is the jewel system. And essentially what it is it is sort of like an equipable item that goes on top of every weapon, and it brings along some stat modifiers. So for example, Michael here on his spear, he has currently a ruby gem, and the ruby gem gives you strength. Now there are a total of 3 slots, and because these gems go on a specific weapon and not on a specific hero, it does mean that you can have multiple weapons and have multiple gems on multiple weapons. Now because the gems are in fact removable, you can remove it and then put it on, let's say, another weapon. It doesn't matter what the weapon type is, as long as you can, as long as it's a weapon, you can attach it. So I can reattach it onto Kunoichi's weapon and then unequip it as I please. So essentially these are these little stones that you get from tower, and they provide some sort of stat modifiers, whether it is a flat stat modifier in terms of the 4 stats in Legion, or if it's the damage modifiers, for example PvP attack increase, or boss attack, or defense, magic defense, and I believe vitality is also there. Yep. So you get your choice of your pool of 4 weapons, and you see that there are 3 slots here. So in fact I'm gonna actually unlock one of these slots here. Now from what I've heard, you can only install a specific type. So essentially right now, and what I heard is in fact true, I currently have a dexterity, which is actually agility, an agility stone, and if I try to add another agility stone here, where is it? This one. If I hit equip, it says jewels of the same type cannot be equipped together, which means I cannot put on another agility stone because I already have one in place. I can, however, put in a vitality stone, I believe, and I can put on the boss damage, or yeah, boss damage. I can put on this stone. So as long as I don't put on another emerald, or yeah, as long as I don't put on another emerald stone, I'm good to go. And you do in fact get 3 of these slots, and the second and third slot cost 100 and 200 rune essence, respectively. So because these are weapon dependent, I would highly recommend unlocking the gem slots on specifically legendary and mythic weapons, because if they're heavily upgraded, you'll be able to continuously upgrade them via the system at Blacksmith Brock, where you just continuously upgrade from Season 2 Rank 1 to Season 2 Rank 2. So that way you don't kind of lose your rune essences. Although it's only 300, it's not too much. For normal tower weapons, I would say only save it for the current top tower weapon, which is Radiant. So I wouldn't bother putting or unlocking slots on Eternals, because you're simply going to replace it with Radiant anyway. Now with that aside, I do want to talk about how to actually get these gems. These gems drop in tower floors 71 plus in hard mode tower. So any of these floors past 71, they'll end up as an optional, or kind of like a, yeah, pretty much an optional or random reward at the end for the bonus reward. So you're no longer guaranteed that the Radiant weapon is one of the 4 cards. It could be a Radiant weapon, or it could be what they call the shiny jewel box. So even though it says Radiant Cannon as a bonus reward, it could be a Radiant Cannon, but on some runs it may turn out to be a shiny jewel box. And these jewel boxes contain jewels from rank D to B, and these jewels do in fact have ranks, as you saw before. So obviously the higher the rank, the higher the stat boost. And we can take a look at Chameleon, who actually allows you to trade these gems. So right now we have, so this is a rank C ruby gem, which is a strength gem, and in order to get this gem, the rank C version, we need 5 rank D gems, which we have here. We have 7 and we have 5. So all you need to do is click this and then click all and then exchange, and as long as you have enough, you will be able to get one of these rank C rubies. Similarly, with rank B, you need 5 rank C rupees, so it's kind of like a cumulative effect. You guys can do the math. I haven't done the math yet, but I believe like because you need 5 of these ones and 5 of those ones, it's kind of just do the math, and I'll probably do it later and post it. But essentially, you do need to farm quite a bit of these jewels to get to the top level or the highest rank jewel, which is SS. And again, all of the jewels have or are capped at rank SS, and they provide different boosts. Now, because from what you saw before, you can only have you cannot repeat the same jewel type. Oops, you cannot repeat the same jewel type. What I would recommend in terms of jewel selection is basically your first one, or it doesn't matter which slot you put it into, but it's easier if I go in order. So your first slot is ideally the stat that the character uses. So for example, Claire is a ranged user, so that means agility will boost her damage. So I'm going to give her an agility jewel stone. Now, the next one, I can have the option of putting either vitality or defense. Why? Because intelligence doesn't really matter. I could put strength, but I believe strength and well, I'm not actually sure if strength increases defense. I know it does for melee heroes. But actually, let's see if it does. So it's at 169k. Let's add a strength stone, see if it changes at all. So yeah, strength does in fact change your defense. But because it's a very small boost, as you saw before, that was like roughly 4k boost, while this one is... Actually, no, this one's pretty much the same. It's not too huge of a difference. So essentially, your next slot will either be anything that's not agility. Now, for Claire, intelligence doesn't really help her, and strength only increases defense, and defense obviously increases defense. And magic defense, honestly, there's no point, in my opinion, to adding magic defense. It may be useful in the future, but right now, looking at this magic defense modifier, it's simply too low. Like 10% of 545 is like 5, so you're only adding 5 to magic defense, which I personally think is extremely low just by looking at the math. So magic defense kind of pointless at that point, and you're pretty much left with PvP attack, boss damage, vitality, and strength, of course. So because strength and defense are pretty much the same, you can choose one or the other. I personally prefer HP over defense, so that's why I would recommend going with vitality for your next slot. And then your last slot is, again, it's up to your choice. Now, certain heroes will perform better in PvP, and certain heroes will perform better in PvE. Obviously, PvE heroes will get boss damage, and PvP heroes will get PvP attack. Now, because Claire fares better in PvP, I would obviously give her a PvP jewel. Now, it doesn't mean that you're locked into this jewel forever. As you saw before, you can in fact remove it. So what's ideal is if you have a hero that's good for PvP and PvE, cough cough, Michael, I would keep a copy of the boss damage jewel and a PvP jewel, so I can switch them out whenever I need to. So like whenever I'm doing PvE stuff, I'll use the boss damage one, or maybe the strength one. Actually no, but strength's already on your first one, so forget what I said. So when I'm doing PvE related content, I'll switch to boss damage, and if I'm doing PvP like arena or mines, I'll switch it back to PvP jewels. So that's the general gist of it. It does cost a lot of runes. I believe on the forums someone mentioned that it costs like 280,000 runes to get from rank D jewel to rank SS. So it is quite costly, but again, this is not meant to be like, you know, I can farm all this in like a day and get the best gear already, unless you already had a lot of runes lying around. But that's essentially it for the jewels, and they do in fact drop from these shiny jewel boxes. The ones you get from here are obviously limited to rank D to B, and when you open these boxes, you then get more boxes, which is kind of a bad design choice in my opinion. But you get rank C jewels from here, and this is where you get like the square ones. Then you get the pentagon, and then it seems like the more edges, or the more vertices the shape has, the better the stat, because, you know, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. But that's essentially it for jewels. That's the first system they introduced. The second system is one I've been talking about for an extremely long time, and they finally released it, which is the ability to increase your active inscription. So right now, or prior to this update, we had no way to increase the active inscription on many items. For example, this axe, it was just like a level 1 proc forever. Now obviously this axe, I mean, the proc is not that great, but for certain items like the chest armor heal and the immunity cleanse from the white rings, and occasionally the shield from legendary gloves, those all can be quite useful, and it is actually good to have those active inscriptions at a very high level. And previously it was just RNG. If you get lucky, you get a really good one. Otherwise you have to either farm it again or just put it on a hero that doesn't require their skill to be used all the time, so that if they do get stunned and the proc doesn't go off, it won't matter too much. Now with the new system, it does allow you to level the active inscription to the base minimum at level 5, because I believe everybody should be able to get it to level 5. And the reason why is because when you're enhancing the active inscription, you use rune stones and gold from levels 1 to 5, and then if you want to go from 6 and beyond, you will need rune essence, and in a lot of it, in fact. And not only do you need that, you also need equipment. And what it means by equipment is you need to have the same type of equipment. So for example, right now I have let's say I have actually this is a pretty decent example. So let's say I have this actually I had the example lined up earlier, but I removed it for testing. So let's go back to Rita, and let's say I want to enhance my active inscription on my armor, right? This is a 6-star, so season 1 rank 6 armor, which means that I need to have another type of equipment that is also season 1 rank 6, that is also part of gear. And I do in fact have the helmet, which is available, and it will allow me to boost this active inscription from 1 to 2. Now rings are strange because they are not considered as gear, even though they kind of work as a gear slot because they don't provide any attack. Rings need rings to boost their active inscriptions, so you cannot use, for example, a ring here. Like if I had a ring, a rank 6 ring, I wouldn't be able to find it in this list because a ring is not compatible with equipment or armor. But different types of weapons are compatible, and different types of rings are also compatible. So for example, I have a season 2 rank 1 ring, which is of the white category, and it does mean that I can use a season 2 rank 1 red ring, so the one that heals, and it will work. So you're not limited in terms of the specific, you don't have to have an exact specific copy of the equipment, as long as it's part of the same category and same type. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So the same thing for weapons. I just need another weapon, any weapon, as long as it's part of the same category, which is season 2 rank whatever, rank 1 in this case. Now because you do require a lot of the same type of equipment, I would actually be hesitant on upgrading your armor or weapon or whatever at Blacksmith Brock, because if you're able to increase, let's say, your ring to level 5 and then upgrade it, you won't be stuck at a level 1 ring, and you'll be stuck at instead a level 3 ring. And the whole process is, let's say, so previously I had my ring as a season 2 rank 1 ring, and when the mythic medal update rolled out, all of the mythic medals were converted, and so I could have had the option of purchasing more season 2 rank 1 equipment, enhancing the active inscription on that, and then upgrading the gear at Brock, which means that I don't need to get, so instead of using season 2 rank 2 as the consumable equipment, I can only use or I only need to use season 2 rank 1, and then I upgrade it after. So it's kind of like a more efficient, or I guess a resource efficient way to increase the active inscription, but you will in fact eventually need those equipment at the same category and rank. So that is pretty interesting in my opinion. I think it will change the meta quite a bit in terms of at least the top players, because they're gonna have a lot of these resources already, and so it does mean that the I believe that there will be a shift towards kind of like the white ring or the immunity ring being procced, which means that certain heroes like Daiji that have the cross or like the infinite cross Bewitch won't be that effective against certain heroes because they're just gonna white ring proc anyway, so it won't affect them. So that's my opinion on how the meta will shift. I don't know if that's actually true, but regardless, it will help in pretty much every mode to be able to increase your active inscriptions. So that is really nice. And the next thing I want to talk about is the new event. And we actually had a rework of the events tab, which is kind of interesting. Essentially, they gave us more events, so pretty much every day there's an event. It's either like attack up, or you get increased gold, or if you get item drop rate or EXP. I believe earlier today it was item drop rate, but the server reset now, so it's attack up. And there are also 2 other events. There is currently the Tower of Chaos event, which is essentially you just farm tower, and once you can farm 1,000 towers, you get this reward, 800 hearts and a mythic ticket, which is pretty decent. It's nothing too special, but it's better than nothing. And you also get the login event. Now this event you can pretty much just AFK. As long as you're logged into the game, you'll get the items here, which is pretty good. The last 2, I believe, or this one and this one specifically are for paying players, because 75 heroes require soul gems, and challenging phase rift twice require soul gems as well, I believe. So that's it for that. And I think that's pretty much it. There is the new costume box and June's costume box, which I did not make a video on, but I'm debating whether or not I should make a video, because I'm pretty sure you guys already know who to pick from that batch of heroes. I believe June, it was Saint Ione, Dark Magister, and Robin. You guys already know who I'm rooting for, so I mean, it's fairly obvious. I will try to make another costumes video for this month. I haven't analyzed too much into this month's costumes, so I can't give you an opinion right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this update. Jewels and the active inscription are the big focus of this update. I will likely probably link the jewels and the different types of jewels and what ranks and what their stats are in the description or something. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this update, guys. Peace.